Insights, your short but mighty dose of leadership wisdom. I'm Claire, and today we're wrapping up the year with reflection and gratitude, which is a topic that all leaders should make time for. With me, I have Raymond, who is a leadership coach and facilitator who has helped hundreds of leaders to build stronger and more effective teams. Raymond, it's so good to have you here.
Thanks, Claire. I love the theme. This year end is always one of the rare moments for leaders to sit down, to pause, to look back, and also to recognize the key moments.
Before we get into the techniques and stories, help us anchor today's topic. Why does gratitude matter so much in leadership and especially at the end of the year?
Gratitude acts like a reset button. It shifts leaders from pressure to perspective. When we pause to recognize progress, even the small wins, morale rises, clarity improves, and teams feel seen. And honestly, leaders need it too, right? Reflection helps you to realize how far you have come, not just how far you still need to go.
Let's dive into that. When leaders reflect on the year, what should they be looking for?
That's a good point. There are three big things. And I kind of like put them up as three M's. The first one is milestones, right? When I talk about milestones, I talk about success, the achievements that the team has had. The second M is moments of learning, which basically are challenges that has forced the team through growth. The third thing is manpower or people, the individuals who have made it possible. Many leaders typically jump straight into what do we need to fix for next year. But I think the more important question to ask is what really went well this year.
I love that. We're starting from strength. So, what about gratitude? How does that help transform teams?
Gratitude builds trust. When people feel appreciated, they show up differently, they are more engaged, they are more open, they are more committed. The team performs better when they know that their effort is noticed. And gratitude doesn't need to be, dramatic, if you know what I mean. Even a simple personalized message or a shout out in a meeting or even acknowledging someone's behind the scenes work can have huge impact on that individual.
And yet, do you still see, based on your experience, do you see leaders that struggle with this?
All the time. Some worry they seem over sentimental, right? They feel like they're not acting as a boss. Others think gratitude is too soft a tool. But research is really, really clear, and that is teams who regularly experience gratitude are more resilient and more productive. Gratitude is not fluffy, it is actually strategy.
So, Raymond, would it be ingenuine for a leader who has not displayed like gratitude to their team members before to suddenly do it out of the blue? So, and if a leader has not done it before, how can they go about starting that act of gratitude towards their team?
That's a really good question, Claire. And I think a number of leaders have asked me that question. I believe gratitude is something that can be learned. All right. Behavioral change to being pro gratitude requires some level of context to be built around the people that you're working with. So people who have never experienced gratitude from you may not feel comfortable when you start showing them more gratitude. So one of the ways of doing it, which I tell leaders, is the fact that you could always start off by saying, "Hey, I'm learning to be more appreciative. I'm learning to show more gratitude, and hence I'm making certain changes to the way that I communicate with people around me." So that gives people an opportunity to be ready to be prepared to receive that gratitude when they ultimately receive it.
I love that. It's like communicating the changes so that they are not like suspicious of the leaders, like when they change in their communications.
That's right. That's absolutely correct.
Let's get practical. If a leader wants to start on a year end review, how can they go about it?
There's a simple three-step approach that I normally tell people. The first step is to look back. right? And ask yourself, what were some of the top wins that you had? What surprised us, or even what challenged us? This creates kind of like a balanced and honest picture of what's happened in the past. Step two is to look around. Who made the significant differences this year? Who stepped up quietly? And also, this is the moment where we want to be generous and also specific with gratitude. The third point is to look forward. And what that means is instead of having resolutions, having positive intentions. And you could ask questions like, what kind of leader do I want to be next year? Or what behavior do I want to support and to carry into 2026?
I really like that framework. It's really simple, but yet at the same time, it's so very human. Do you have a favorite question that leaders should ask themselves?
Yeah, well, one of the questions I normally tell them to ask themselves is, what am I proud of that I haven't acknowledged? Right? And it could be something that I could acknowledge, or I could get affirmation from people around me. Leaders rarely give themselves credit. All right. So this question changes the tone entirely.
So, Raymond, you worked with so many leaders before, right? Could you share about a story where you experienced gratitude in action?
Yeah. So, one of the things that we do here at Enable is, we run leadership journeys. And during the journeys, it's not just the fact that the learners learn, but, as facilitators, we also learn. So one of the things that we do is we create thank you cards, and we put in handwritten notes to everyone in that journey. And we try to identify specific learning points to the respective individuals, and we give it to them as a thank you card. And the impact of that, it gets the learners in the classroom to do the same thing too, where we create one last activity where we get them to also write thank you notes to others, their peers, their peer learners in the classroom, and to exchange those notes. So recognizing how these individuals were able to impact them as far as the learning process was concerned. And I think it's a really powerful way in how we show gratitude, or how we climax that whole journey with an act of gratitude.
Right, and I'm sure that hit harder than it would if you just ask them to go say thank you to your team, rather like that whole ripple effect of like doing it first and then they received and did it among themselves. I think it allowed them to practice also that gratitude before bringing it back to their teams.
That's so true. The other thing I wanted to share with you is, when you write it down, you are more intentional because it happens in your prefrontal cortex, right? And when that happens, you are thinking about what you want to say, and you're putting it down, and then you're passing that genuine, that authentic gratitude on to people.
Right, and I think that's what makes it so wonderful because gratitude needs to be authentic in order to work.
That's so true.
So,
Thanks.
as we close this episode, how should leaders carry this into the new year?
And again, that's a great question, because the first thing we need to do is we need to keep gratitude going. It can't just be the flavor for the month of December, right? That's the first thing. The second thing is choose one leadership intention for January. It could be being more present in the meetings, or listening more, or celebrating wins more regularly, or even appreciating people for going that one extra mile in getting something done. And lastly, invite your team and ask them, what are you proud of this year? And which of these can we take on to the next year so that we can do it again? I realize when teams co-shape, or they co-create, or co-curate the next chapter, ownership naturally grows.
Love that, Raymond. Thank you so much for sharing so generously with us today. I think that was a perfect way to wrap up this year. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on our last Leadership Bites of the year. We'll see you in 2026. Till then, lead with intention, lead with gratitude, and see you guys next year.
And in the spirit of gratitude, we just want to thank each and every one of you for following Enable's channel in 2025. We look forward to seeing you in 2026. See you guys.